Hi guys, welcome back to my channel Sew with Zini. My name is Ezine and I make tutorials regarding fashion, DIY and pattern drafting. Today's tutorial we are going to learn how to make this kaftan bubu gown or what have you. So if this is what you think you'll be interested in, do not forget to watch this video to the end, and please do not forget to give it a thumbs up, comments, share and turn on your notification bells in order to get notified whenever I post subsequent videos. Now, without wasting much time, let us get right into the video. So here I have this pink sample lace. In your area it can be called a different name, but here this is what it's called. It almost looks like a chantilly lace, but it's not a chantilly lace, and it's really lightweight. Okay, it's not heavy at all. It's very light, and I'll be making use of 3.5 inches of this fabric for this tutorial. So the next with me here is this black plain material. It's called a poly material. It's really stretchy, so I'll be using this for my inner, for the inside of the gown, because the gown is going to be transparent without that. So yes, I'll be making use of 1.5 yards of this for just the inner. So yes, this is my fabric. I'll fold this gown into 2 equal halves, just as you see me doing in the video. Okay, I'll make sure that the 2 sides align together. Okay, so I'll just fold them into 2 equal halves and then I'll cut it. After cutting it, I'll fold each of the piece that I've cut into 2 equal halves again, and then I would start marking out my measurements. So this is it. I folded it into 2 equal halves, as you can see. Now the next thing I'll do is to rule my starting point line. Okay, so I'll just go ahead with my ruler and rule a line. This can be any inch of your choice, but no more than 1 inch. So you can leave half of an inch. You can even leave at most 1 inch before you start. So now the next thing will be to mark out our standard 3 inches neck width measurement. Next thing will be to mark out our 1 inch neck depth measurement for the back. Okay, so remember that we are drafting, we are marking out our measurements on the back first before the front. Okay, so now we've connected the back neck depth and the back neck width together, just as you see in the video. Okay, so we slightly curved it. Now the next will be to mark out our shoulder. So my shoulder is 8 inches, so I'll go ahead and mark it out. Now after I've marked where my shoulder is, under my shoulder line I'll come down by 1 inch. Now after I've come down by 1 inch, I'll go ahead and connect it back to my neck width measurements, just as you see me doing in the video. So now I'll go ahead to check the general width measurement of the dress. Okay, so I think here for the fabric, the general width measurement of the fabric is 23 to 24 inches, as this will determine the length of our sleeve as well. So now the next thing I'll do is to extend my shoulder slope down to the end part of the fabric. Okay, so just because I feel the chalk I used might not be visible enough, I went ahead to use my marker to extend the line so that you guys can see it properly. Now the next thing I'll do is to determine where I want my cowl slope to start from. So for me, I used 37 inches from my shoulder. Okay, so from my shoulder measuring 37 inches. So I've marked my 37 inches. Now the next thing I'll do is to determine my hip from that point that I marked my 37 inches. So my hip is 43 inches divided by 4, which would give me 10.75 plus additional 5 inches. So this 5 inches is just for ease because it is a free gown, so it's not meant to be tight. So the additional 5 inches is for the ease. So now it will give me a total of 15.75 inches. So I'll go ahead and mark it, and then I'll use my ruler to rule a line. This line will just basically help me to determine where my cowl slope would start from. So now the next thing I'll do is to take down the measurements I got from this to the length of my gown. So I got 15.75 as I stated earlier, so I'll just take this down to the length of my fabric, and then I'll just box it. I'll rule a line across down to the end of the fabric. Now the next thing would be to determine the sleeve width or the sleeve round. Okay, so starting from the shoulder slope, I measured down 14 inches. So now I marked it, and after marking it, I'll go ahead and go in by 1.5 inches because we are going to be folding this in, because that is where we are going to be inserting our elastic. Okay, after I've done all that, the next thing will be to connect the sleeve to the place where I want the cowl to start from, the cowl slope. So I'll just go ahead to connect these lines together, and I'll also use my marker to thicken the lines so that it can enable you to see it properly. So yes, this is the slope. I've gone ahead to just mark out my slope, and this is what it looks like. The next thing for me to do is to start cutting. So I'll start from the length of the gown, and then I'll cut it forward to the sleeve part of the gown. So if you noticed, I was cutting with 1/2 inch allowance, so this will just be used as my sewing allowance. Over to my neck area, I'll go ahead and cut out the back of the neck. Okay, so I cut it out for both the front and the back. So after cutting out the neck, I'll go ahead and cut out the shoulder slope. Also remember that I was cutting on 1/2 inch allowance both for the shoulder. So after cutting, I'll go ahead and separate the back from the front. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and unpin them. First of all, I pin this so that it can help keep the two fabrics together. So I'll unpin the back. Now after unpinning the back, I'll be left with the front so that we can be able to cut out the neck piece for the front. So for my front neckline, I'll come down by 12 inches and mark it. Okay, so this is where the depth of my neckline is going to stop. Now at that spot where I marked my 12 inches, I'll go in by 2 inches. Okay, so this is where the band is going to be placed because I'm going to cut it out. Okay, so here I'll just mark my 2 inches down to the length of the gown. Now after marking it, I'll just rule a line and then I'll cut it out. Also, for the purpose of this video, I found out that the 12 inches I left for the neck was quite deep and it was going to be so revealing, and I didn't want that to happen. So I had to make my neck depth 9.5 inches instead of the initial 12 inches because 12 inches was going to be extremely long and deep for me. Now the next thing I'll do here is to connect my neckline, my neck width to the 12 inches that I marked out. Okay, so here I've connected it, and as you can see, it's not straight, it's sort of like a V kind of shape. So the next thing I'll do is to just cut this whole place off and it will be replaced with a plain black piece. So the next thing I'll do now is to join the two shoulders together. Okay, so this is the back piece of the gown. So I'll just go ahead, arrange it properly, and then I'll place my front piece, one part of the front piece, on the two backs together, and then I'll take it to my sewing machine and I'll join the shoulders together. I'll also do the same thing for the other side of the shoulder. Just as you see me doing in the video, that is how you're going to be placing your two shoulders. So this is it, guys. I've joined the shoulders together and this is what it looks. Okay, so this is the opening in front. So here I have my band or my strap, whichever one you wish to call it. So this is what I'm going to be attaching to the front area of the dress. Okay, so here I have 5 inches in width, and then the length is I measured the whole opening plus the neck area, that is for the back. Okay, so that was how I was able to come up with the length of the band. So but the width is 5 inches, so that I can sew on 1/2 inch. And when it's on fold, just as you see me doing, when it's on fold, it becomes 2.5 inches, and then that means I can only sew on 1/2 inch, so which will now still make the band 2 inches. I hope you all get me. So I'll go ahead and iron this, and then I'll come back and show you why you need to iron it. So here I'm done ironing it. I've ironed it, so I folded it into 2 and ironed it and made sure that I created a dent in the middle. Okay, so this is the reason for ironing it, so that we can be able to see the line when we are sewing. I'll explain this in a moment. So now remember we left 12 inches from the neckline, okay, down to where we wanted our neck opening to stop. So now we are going to add the 12 inches on the left part of the gown, and also 12 inches on the other part. Okay, now we'll add these two together, and now also add the neckline for the back. Okay, just as you see me doing in the video. So we'll also add the neckline for the back. So now what is going to give us is the 12 plus 12 would give us 24, plus the neckline for the back. If you can remember, we left 8 inches, so 24 plus 8 inches to give us 32 inches. Now this 32 inches, we are going to divide it by 2 and then place it on this band that we have cut out. Okay, because we are going to be folding this band we are going to be folding it, so it's going to be on fold because of the type of style that our neckline is going to have. We are going to fold this, so I'm already folding it in the video. Now once I've folded it, and I'll make sure that the two lengths align. Now from the tip of where I started folding from, I'll just measure down 16 inches and mark. So before I continue, let's go again. So I'll calculate the 12 inches I left on this side, plus the 12 inches I left on the right, plus the neckline, which is 8 inches. All this together is going to give us 32. Now 32, we are going to divide that 32 by 2, which will give us 16. We'll divide it by 2 because our band is already on fold. And after we've divided it, since it's giving us 16, I'll go ahead and mark my 16 on this band, just as you see me doing. Now I'll also thicken my line to the other side of the band, and then I'll open this up. Now after I've opened this up, I'll make sure that those two lines, I'll make sure that they align together, and then with my pin I'll just hold it down so that it doesn't move out of place. So I'll make sure that the two lines that I ironed, the dents that I left, I'll make sure that they are opposite each other. They are directly facing each other, because that is where I'm going to sew. Okay, now the next thing will be to determine where I want my slits to start. That is where I'm going to stop sewing this. Okay, so from the top of the fold, from the folded band, I'll measure down 36 inches. Okay, so now when I measure it, I'll just mark it so that I'll be able to see it. So when I mark it, I'll open it up, and then I'll use pins to hold it so that it will be in place when I'm sewing it. Now after I've done this, I'll come back and show you how it looks like. So here it is, I've sewn it, and as you can see, the shape is coming up together nicely. So now the next thing I'll do is to attach it to the opening. So I'll attach this band to the opening on the dress, on the center piece and the back. Okay, starting from the 12 inches we marked out as the neck depth. So I'll go ahead and remark these 12 inches on the dress, so that I'll be sure that everything is aligning properly. So now after I've marked it, I'll just use my pins and start pinning up. So now remember that our 12 inches is where the opening starts from. So that is where we are going to pin it. That is where we are going to mark the 12 inches for the dress. So we'll just pin it there and then we'll start sewing all round. So I'll first of all go in with my pins. I'll just use my pins to hold them down. So after that, I'll take it to my sewing machine and sew up the openings. I'll sew it up and then I'll come and show you what it looks like. So you guys, I've sewn it all up together and this is what it looks like. Okay, so the shape is already coming out. Now see where my slit started from. Also for the end part of the dress, I'm yet to finish that off, so I'm going to be finishing it when I'm done with the whole of the dress. So I'll show you how I'll finish that part off too and then trim off the excess. So now the next thing I'll do is to turn to the inner of this dress. Okay, I'll turn it inside out in order to attach the belt. So this dress has an invisible belt. I don't know if I should call it an invisible belt, but yes, I think that is what it is. So it has an invisible belt of which I'm going to attach on the dress, on the front part of the inside of the dress. Yes. So now the next thing I'll do is to mark my waist. So my half length rather. So my half length is 18 inches. So I'll just go ahead, mark it. So I'll go ahead to measure out or mark out the distance that I want my belt hold to have. So here I want it to just have a distance of 10 inches, and remember I'm going to be marking this on my half length. Okay, exactly on my half length. So I'll go ahead and mark the 10 inches on my center piece. So yes, this is my belt. I've already made it and I've sewn it. There's really no big deal for the belt. I think mine has a width of 1.5 inches, and then the length is just for you to know where you want your belt to stop. There are no rules actually. So here I folded it into two, and I'm going to be placing that folded part in the middle of my half length. Okay, the middle of my center piece and on my half length. Okay, so that is how I'm going to be placing it. Now when I've placed it this way, I'll then pin it to where I marked my 10 inches. So remember that we have 5 inches for the left side and then 5 inches for the right side of my center piece. Okay, which makes it 10 inches. So I'll place this here and then I'll pin it up. Then when I'm sewing it, I'll just run a stitch to hold the belt. So also remember that I'm just going to be stitching it with the front piece only. I'm not going to be stitching it with the on the back. Okay, so I'll just gently pick the belt and the front piece, just as you see me doing in the video. Okay, just only the front piece. You're not going to sew it together with the back. Now the next thing that I'll do is to properly arrange the sides of the gown. So I'm going to properly arrange this, pin it up well, and then I'll take it to the sewing machine and run my stitch across. Okay, so I'm going to be closing up the sides. Now once I'm done with that, I'll come back and show you what it looks like. So you guys, this is it. I've sewn the belt and this is what it looks like. I've also sewn the sides of the dress. So this is still the inside of the dress. So now the next thing I'll do is to sew the sleeve part of the dress. So remember that we are going to be putting elastic on this sleeve, so I'll double fold. Okay, just as you see me doing, I'll double fold and then I'll leave a space at one part of the sleeve in order to put the elastic. So here I've sewn up the sides and I've also double folded for the sleeve part. Now the next thing to do is to impute my elastic. So I'll go ahead with my safety pin. I'll just put it on the elastic and then I'll look for the opening I left when I find it, I'll just put it inside. I'll just start inserting my elastic into the fold. So as I insert it, I'll push it with the safety pin. I'll keep on pushing it and moving forward, pushing it and moving forward. So this is what I am going to do until I get the desired size that I want for my sleeve round. Okay, so this is what I'll just keep doing. So when I get to that desired size that I want, I'll just cut it, or I'll just use my pin to hold it so that I'll know where exactly I'm going to like sew. So I'll just go ahead and cut off the excess elastic for the sleeve, and that is that for the sleeve. So now the next thing is to fix our buttons. So I think I have like 6 buttons here, and I'll just go ahead and fix them strategically on the middle part of the gown. So I left like 3 to 4 inches between each button, and that was how I fixed it up. The next thing we'll do is to finish off the length of the band. So I'll just go ahead and cut off the excess. Now after cutting off the excess, I'll just turn it inside out, and then I'll run a stitch across, okay, to just hold it firmly. I'll open it up and then I'll run a stitch across. Then after that, I'll close it back. That way the stitches are hidden and is not visible. So after I'm done with this, I'll just close it up. Like I'll just sew it back, attach it back to the opening that we have, that's to the main dress centerpiece. So that is that for the gown. And the next thing would be to sew the inner part of this dress, to cut and sew it. This is the plain fabric for the inner. I've already folded it, and the next thing I'll do is to just start off by rolling a line where my measurement is going to fall right under. But since it's an inner, it's going to have a strap, so I'm going to be starting from -5 upwards. So the whole measurement is going to come after 5. So now the next thing I'll do is to just impute my bust measurement already, which is 40 inches divided by 4. And the next thing I'll do is to mark my half length, which is like 18 inches. So I'll mark it, and then I'll mark my waist on my half length, that is my waist round. My waist is 38 divided by 4, which would give me 9.5. I go ahead and mark it here, and then I connect my bust to my waist. So meanwhile, it is important to note that for this video, for my inner, I didn't add any allowance because the fabric is super stretchy. So the next thing I'll do now is to mark my hip line, which is 28.5, and after I've done that, I'll go ahead and mark my hip round. Okay, so after marking my hip round, I'll connect it back to my waist. Now when I'm done with this, I'll go ahead and mark where I want the length of my gown to be. That is where the gown is going to be. So this gown is going to be short. You can make yours longer than this. It is totally up to you. So the length of my gown is 36. I'll go ahead and mark 36, and then I'll roll my line, and then I'll also connect it back to my hip. So that is it for this gown. So the next thing I'll do is to try and curve out or mark out the shape of the neck. From the center front, I came down by 12 inches for the V part. Then I mark it. Then from the side, I come down by 3.5 inches, and then I connect. From the side, I just realized I need to come up a little bit more by like 1.5 inch. So I come up by 1 inch or so, and then I connect it back, and then I start cutting. Okay, I'm going to be cutting on 1/2 inch because this is what I'm going to use to sew it. That I'm done with cutting of my front, I'll go over for my back. I'll place the front that I already cut out on my back piece. I'll fold my center back, and then I'll place my center top on top of that, arrange it properly, and then I'll just proceed to cut. So because the chest area for the back is usually higher than the front, now that is why it's straight compared to the front that has a kind of like V shape in the chest area. I'll proceed to cutting out the facing for the back and for the front. Facing for the center front, I leave out over 3.5 inches, and then I'll just cut this out. I'll also do the same thing for the back, and then I'll take it to my sewing machine to sew it together. Before I sew up my facing, I'll have to attach my straps, and these are my straps, okay? So I'll have to put them in between my facing and the inner, that's the center piece, the main piece of the dress, okay? Just as you see me doing in the video, I'll place it, and then I'll take it to the sewing machine and sew it up. Attach the strap to the front part of the inner. Now the next thing will be to attach it to the back. So I place my back, and I'll go ahead and place my front facing my back. Okay, so I'll make my front and my back face each other. That's the right sides are going to be facing each other, just as you see me placing it in the video. And then I'll bring my tape and measure out where the exact point that my strap for the front is, and I'll measure that same spot on my back, and then I'll place my strap there, and then I'll place over my facing, and I'll just hold it down with pins so that it doesn't shift. I'll do that for the other side, and then when I'm done with this, I'll take it to the sewing machine and sew it up. So this is it for the strap. I've sewn it for the back and the front, and this is what it looks like. Okay, so now the next thing will just be to close up the sides. Here it is. I've closed up the sides, and this is what our inner looks like. Okay, so this is the final look of our inner. Like I said, this inner is quite short, but if you want yours to be longer, you only just have to increase the length. So you guys, this is the final look of the gown. I really love the outcome. I mean, everything just made sense. I love the fact that it's even lightweight. So I really hope that you guys can try this out. And if you watched to this point, thank you so much. I appreciate. Please do not forget to like, comment, share, and put on your notification bells in order to get notified whenever I post subsequent videos. Please do not forget to subscribe. I love you guys. Bye, and see you in my next video.